let's talk about the words parameter and statistic. The term parameter is defined to be a numerical measurement describing some characteristic of a population. A statistic is very similar, a numerical measurement describing some characteristic of a sample. So you can see the difference between these two definitions is the word population versus the word sample. The word statistic is more widely used because a statistic is easier to find than the value of a parameter. Let's look at an example. Suppose that our population is the population of the United States. So here's our population, all people in the United States, and that is about 330 million people. So that's our population. The sample would be somehow we collected a subset of that 330 million people, and we found our sample to be this little collection over here. This is our sample of our population of the United States. Now, the parameter would be a numerical measurement describing some characteristic about that population. So suppose our parameter would be, we would like to know what percent of people in the United States own a dog. The statistic, remember the statistic is going to match that definition of parameter, but the statistic relies upon just the sample. So this would be the percent of people in the sample who own a dog. A statistic is going to be much easier to find than a parameter value because if we wanted to find the parameter, we would need to actually ask every single person in the United States if they own a dog or not, and then we would be able to find that percentage. If we want to find a statistic, then we would just need to find a sample and then ask the people just in our sample if they own a dog or not. And that would be our statistic. So we might actually come up with a number like, I'll just throw a number out here, like let's say 72% of people in our sample own a dog. So that's why we a lot of times will see statistics in news articles or news headlines, because it's not likely that an entire population was actually surveyed. And remember, the vocabulary term for that would be census. So if we were to actually look at every single person or poll every single person in the population, then that would be a census. So a census is when the population is actually equal to the sample. Okay, so it's usually easier, costs less money, and much less time to take a sample, survey that sample, and come up with a statistic rather than a parameter. But they do parallel each other in the idea that it is a numerical measurement about either a population or a sample.